Welcome back to another episode of 40 Facts About the 40K Universe. I am your host Gersh1, and today we're going to be talking about the Adeptus Mechanicus as we get into some of their most powerful weapons. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. We post Warhammer 40K lore videos every single day. If you have any suggestions, please comment down below. And if you enjoy our content, thank our patrons on Patreon. It is because of them that we can do this. Link in the description if you guys want to support us. But with that said, let's get into 40 facts of the Centurio Ordinatus. Only an ignorant fool would underestimate the destructive capabilities of the Forge Worlds of the Imperium of Man. As devout worshippers of the Omnissiah and commanding with the authority of the Adeptus Mechanicus, these planets are no defenseless domains. On top of being able to call upon the devastating wrath of the Titan legions or the Skitarii armies, a Forge World can request the assistance of the mighty Centurio Ordinatus. This ancient division of the Adeptus Mechanicus is responsible for developing, maintaining, and operating the holy war machines known as Ordinati, or the singular Ordinatus. These are the ancient weapon batteries of the Mechanicum, capable of unleashing such destructive powers that they can burn entire hive cities to the ground, or reduce fortresses to rubble. This classification of weapon is extremely unique, as each Ordinatus was created by an individual Forge World for a very specific battlefield role. Some of these weapons of mass destruction date back to the Age of Strife, when Mars was an independent human empire ruled by the power-hungry tech priests of the ancient Admech. The long and glorious history of the Centurio Ordinatus is why so many of the weapons under their care have such a lack of similarity. Many of these weapons were so specialized that they only fired once and then had been stored away and venerated by the tech priests that take care of them. The inner classification of the Centurio Ordinatus is a mystery to many, but the few details that can be ascertained demonstrate that there are two major classes: the Ordinatus Primaris, whose firepower often outstrips those of a Titan. This class is truly colossal, unique, and unreplicable. And then there's the lesser, but still gargantuan and deadly Ordinatus Minoris subclasses. The Minoris were most commonly used at the height of the Great Crusade, but are now only within reach of the most potent Forge Worlds, who are able to construct these earth-shattering weapons in extremely limited numbers. When deployed on the battlefield, the Ordinati are renowned for their relentless advance towards the enemy, trailing havoc and destruction in their wake. Ordinati are powered by immense plasma generators, which drive the tracks and energize their weapon systems. These are very volatile, and if the Ordinatus is destroyed, they will explode spectacularly in a massive ball of roiling plasma. Most Ordinati are protected by a massive energy shield, known as a dispersion field. Projectiles and energy bolts deflect harmlessly away from this crackling dome of power, leaving the Ordinatus unscathed. Unfortunately, the dispersion field requires tremendous amounts of power, and will eventually overload its generators. This means that what starts out as a near impenetrable force field gradually weakens as the battle progresses, letting more and more enemy fire through. The shield also affords the Ordinatus some psychic protection, in much the same way that a void shield does so for an Imperial starship. One of the Imperium's most ancient Ordinatus was known as the Ordinatus Mars. This Ordinatus was created at the outset of the Horus Heresy, during the Mechanicum Civil War known as the Schism of Mars. It was created by the Loyalist Mechanicus forces to overcome the problem of assaulting the Dark Mechanicus Forge city, known as Castellum Jericho. This formidable citadel boasted walls half a mile thick and was protected by a mysterious archaeotech device known as the Vortex Field Generator. The central bastion was constructed from the hardest metal alloy known to humanity and could withstand any amount of pounding by the Imperium's foremost siege masters. The Ordinatus Mars utilized a unique technology known as a sonic disruptor to produce sound waves which resonated across the battlefield, crumbling the walls of the formidable citadel to dust as they were shook apart. Since then, a sonic disruptor has become one of the most popular weapons to mount on an Ordinatus. The frequency of sound used by this weapon ravages those who fall victim to it, from a supersonic rumbling that tears buildings apart, to a supersonic squall that pierces the eardrums and flays skin from flesh, much like my voice. The sonic disruptor scales these frequencies up and down repeatedly, causing a blast of sonic energy that rolls forward like a force wave from a massive conventional explosion. Hiding in cover is of little use, since wood and rubble are just blown apart, and walls simply amplify the sonic wave if they are not shattered. Even the weighty armor of a Titan or the reinforced buttresses of a stronghold provide little protection against the wrath of a sonic disruptor. Most Ordinati that carry a sonic disruptor nowadays carry the Olotor-class sonic disruptor. Although an inferior copy of the Ordinatus Mars, it still operates on an order of magnitude far beyond anything mounted even on the largest super heavy tanks found in the Imperium's common arsenal. Using a plasma reactor akin to those found on a battle titan to power a directional sonic transduction generator of staggering force, it emits a varying waveform of destructive sound energy able to shatter the most resilient materials. The annihilating wave pulse traverses the battlefield, wreaking havoc in its path. The particular effect of its design means that the larger the target struck, the more damage it will feel. This minor sonic destructor is usually the main weapon of the Ordinatus Minoris, known as an Ordinatus Olator. On top of having this destructive weapon, this Ordinatus Minoris also carries a trio of Volkite culverins. This is a class of powerful thermal ray weapons whose technology is pre-imperial in origin and dates back to the Age of Strife. 3 of these deadly Ordinatus Minoris platforms were given over to the War Master Horus at the behest of the renegade Forge World of Zan II. These Ordinati were named Mithrax, Nepothax, and Ashrax after the ancient Terran deities. In the end, however, 2 of the 3 were captured by the Loyalist forces, led by the Black Shield commander, Endrin Har, during the Zena incursion, and 1 was destroyed during that battle. Another set of famous Ordinati were the Ordinati of Diamat. They were very potent siege guns stolen from the ancient Mechanicum on Diamat by the First Legion during the opening days of the Horus Heresy, in order to deny them to the traitor legions of the War Master Horus. The gargantuan mobile artillery pieces were subsequently entrusted to Perturabo before the Dropsite Massacre, given as a gift from one Primarch to another, the pride-foolish Lionel Johnson thinking to buy the loyalty of his brother, who was to be chosen as the War Master after Horus was defeated. The Lion had unknowingly handed over the mighty siege guns to the traitor Iron Warrior Legion, who later would go on to make good use of them against the Imperial Palace during the Siege of Terra. Not all Ordinati used projectile weaponry. For example, the Ordinatus Priam was a huge tunneling Ordinatus that was assembled during the Siege of Priam, a city overrun by the traitor legion during the Horus Heresy. This immense creation was designed to tunnel through the planet's crust and then navigate through the white-hot molten rock of the mantle underneath. This rendered it undetectable to Priam's defenses and allowed 4 companies of the Imperial Army troops to storm the city, breaking the siege. However, Ordinatus Priam was irrevocably damaged during the attack, as part of its heat shield gave way. The concept of using a drill as a weapon is seen in the most recognizable of the Imperium's Ordinatus Minoris, known as the Ordinatus Actaeus. It is a super heavy transport designed to carve a path through the stony heart of a world to deliver its cargo of warriors to the center of the battlefield. Known to the armies of the Emperor as the Imperial Mole, this vehicle is a siege engine capable of rendering even the most formidable fortifications pointless by burrowing beneath them. Based upon lesser examples of ancient terrascaping and earth-shaping engines, the Actaeus design mounts only a relatively small battery of defensive weapons, including a series of melta-cutters to aid its tunneling and a missile system designed to saturate the vehicle's exit point and cover the disembarking of its cargo. This Ordinatus Minoris is so effective at siege work that it is often requested by the Adeptus Astartes. Unfortunately, the workings of such a device are so complex that they go beyond the understanding of most tech priests. As such, deploying a seismic excavator is a lengthy process which is only undertaken in the heat of battle in the rarest of circumstances. More often, the macro drill is deployed solar days or weeks before a battle from a stationary launch platform, located at a great distance from its eventual target. In modern times, the Imperium witnessed the destructive powers of Ordinatus Armageddon. It first shed blood during the massive Chaos invasion of the First War for Armageddon. Khorne Banelords, a group of demon engines deployed for the Chaos assault upon Armageddon, were instrumental in the destruction of many cities, but the genius of an Adeptus Mechanicus tech priest, Geronimus Underson, devised an Ordinatus as a defense against the marauding war machines. Underson mounted a massive starship weapon onto a land-bound chassis, giving the Imperial forces an immense war machine powerful enough to destroy even the largest and most heavily armored foes. This idea was by no means original. It followed the concept behind the famous Squad Titan killer known as the Cyclops, and also the Ordinatus Olenor. In the ensuing Battle of Tartarus Hive, Ordinatus Armageddon destroyed no less than 4 Chaos Titans and 2 detachments of demon engines. With the heavy firepower of this machine, the Chaos assault wave broke upon the mile-high walls like a tide upon the rocks. Ordinatus Armageddon is feared by all enemies of the Imperium as a war machine capable of destroying all opposing it. Many of these weapons are actually forgotten. Such was the case for Ordinatus Hervara. This Ordinatus Primaris was hidden in the caverns of the planet of Hervara, located in the Calixis sector Spinward Front. Because of its armaments, this Ordinatus most closely resembles the architectural style of the renowned Ordinatus Mars. Many within the Calixis sector believe it to be such. The whereabouts of the ancient Ordinatus Mars are uncertain, There are no records of it ever having been in the Calixis sector. Historical imagery also indicates several critical design variations from the Ordinatus present on Hervara. The origins of the one found buried upon this planet and the historical records remain uncertain. In the event that the Imperial Guard were to recover this vehicle, it is certain that the members of the Adeptus Mechanicus would come to uncover its history. Most likely, this Ordinatus was sent to Hervara to be refitted after seeing action during the Great Crusade, but its true origins remain unknown. One of the most devastating weapons mounted on an Ordinatus is Hellfire Missiles. Hellfire is a common term for the potent acidic viral compound developed by the Adeptus Mechanicus. It burns through armor and shears flesh, usually leaving the few who survived hideously scarred and crippled. It is a matter of opinion whether it is better to die from Hellfire attacks or survive. The Ordinatus Golgotha is one of the Ordinati that wielded one of these devastating weapons. After the infamous Orc warlord Godskull Magorek Thraka was defeated on the hive world of Armageddon during the Second War for Armageddon, he fled to the stars. His nemesis, Commissar Yarrick, tracked him down to the squat world of Golgotha. Despite the assistance of Yarrick, the squats were defeated by Godskull's horde, and Yarrick was captured. In an attempt to humiliate his arch-foe, Godskull did not kill Yarrick, but imprisoned him instead. However, the resourceful Yarrick managed to escape and return to Golgotha with a punitive force of Titans and Skitarii. The early battle went badly for the Imperium, as the sheer size of the Orc wall overwhelmed them time and time again. In an attempt to smash the massive Orc mob, Ordinatus Golgotha was constructed in the recaptured strongholds of the squats. Golgotha's terrifying Hellfire missiles devastated the Orcs. Ordinatus Golgotha carried 6 Hellfire missiles and would only fire 1 to 2 per hour. These Hellfire missiles had multiple warheads, allowing it to completely devastate a wide area. In addition, the extensive scanning equipment aboard Ordinatus Golgotha allowed it to fire with extreme accuracy. For the most part, the Hellfire missiles can be fired at any point on the battlefield, even at targets that are out of line of sight, with no chance of scattering. Unlike normal indicator barrages, there is no need for friendly troops to spot the accurate launch of a Hellfire missile. Nearby enemy units attacked by this horrendous weapon may be panicked by the agonizing screams of their comrades as their flesh burns away and their bones melt. The Nova Cannon is another weapon usually mounted on an Ordinatus. The Nova Cannon is similar to the plasma annihilators of an Imperial-class Titan. However, rather than releasing a burst of raw plasma, the Nova Cannon can focus and control a potent energy with great precision. This allows the crew to siphon small amounts of plasma into the discharge chamber, producing a rapid burst of fire. Alternatively, the crew can flood the chamber with all of the remaining plasma and send out an earth-shattering blast of energy. The immense energy released by a massive burst produces a beam of plasma which covers a wide area. And then there's the Bellicosa pattern Volcano Cannon, another very devastating weapon mounted on an Ordinatus. This ancient weapon has destructive power that's comparable to many shipboard lance cannons and planetary defense lasers. Few mobile weapon platforms are able to mount the Bellicosa simply due to its savage power requirements, as well as the danger of the thermal and radiation overspill of its firing. With this Ordinatus, the strongest fortress walls will be reduced to glowing ember, and the most resilient armor to molten slag and vapor. The weapons of an Ordinatus will always be varied. Such was the case for the Ordinatus Bellicane, an ancient and forbidden device mounted upon a colossal tractor crawler which projected a vast temporal stasis field. This field can either freeze anything in its path or age the target by centuries in a second if it's organic. It actually hasn't been used in 500 standard years and is regarded as too sacred to leave its home planet, the Forge World of Bellicane. And all of these strange weapons are only the tip of the Centurio Ordinatus' arsenal. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This was a viewer request. If you guys have suggestions for anything else, please comment down below. And I want to thank the person that requested this topic. I want to go to Forge World now and buy my own Ordinatus Minoris. It's kind of expensive, and I don't know if I can play it with my Skitarii cohort in 40K, because it is a 30K model. I wonder if the rules transfer over. Help me out in the comment section below, let me know. Again, if you guys have suggestions for any other topics, just request it, and I will try to create it for you guys. And I hope you guys are enjoying our content. Thank our patrons on Patreon. If you guys want to support us, the link is down in the description. It's just $1 a month, and with that dollar, it helps us create more videos. Liking, commenting, and specifically sharing these videos on like Facebook, Reddit, that stuff kind of helps out too. So thank you guys for listening, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. This is Gershwan with One Mind Syndicate signing out.
Oh, I used to put my